And hello, everyone, and welcome to Rich Sports Talk and Jet fans. I know we were all hoping to be here under slightly better circumstances, as the last hour has been, without question, quite a whirlwind. Reports broke about an hour ago that the Jets were one of the finalists for Tyreek Hill, but moments ago, Adam Schefter reporting that Tyreek Hill is being traded to the Miami Dolphins, will be getting the highest guaranteed contract of any wide receiver. And of course, the Dolphins paying an absolute boatload for the six-time Pro Bowler. And this is a trade that it, it hits on many different levels. It feels like for the Jets that this is a painful loss, not just because they lose out on Tyreek Hill, but the fact that he's going to the division rival Miami Dolphins, and now the Jets have to play him twice a year. And a lot of the first reaction that I have seen on social media is blaming Joe Douglas, blaming the Jets for not being able to pull this off. But if you listen to what the reporters were saying, is that both teams offered substantial packages. Both teams were going to make Tyreek Hill the highest paid receiver in NFL history and core to the Jets. But it really, they said, it came down to what Tyreek Hill wanted. And it's kind of interesting, too, because I have a feeling that if the Chiefs were making this trade, simply like they were in charge of making this deal, I feel he would have been a New York Jet, because to me, the Jets would have had the higher draft picks. They had higher picks than Miami, and Miami gave up a lot. I mean, I understand that the first reaction is the 29th overall pick seems like not much, but they shelled out 5 draft picks to get Tyreek Hill, and it's a lot. And it's a lot for a player that's had some off the field issues. It's a lot for a player that's 28, and you wonder how much more in his prime he's going to be. But overall, I give the Jets credit for being in on it. It hurts that that comes down to this, that it will not be going this way. But there's a lot of factors that play in Tyreek Hill. And the first thing people say, oh, it's the taxes. It's really, to me, not the taxes. It comes down to Tyreek Hill is from Florida. His offseason home is in Florida. Where does he train in the offseason? Florida. Like, it was basically a chance for Tyreek Hill to come home. And I do think it was about playing at home and getting the money, because if it was about the better quarterback, and I understand there's still questions about Zach Wilson, but Zach Wilson has shown more upside and ability to push the ball down the field better than Tua Tagovailoa. Now, the biggest question is, where do the Jets go from here? And to be honest with you, I don't really know, but it does beg the question, does now the Jets change their draft priorities a little bit? Do they look at maybe going for a Sauce Gardner in the top 10 to try to slow down these great receivers? And you look, they have to play Stephon Diggs, who's a great receiver, but now in Miami, Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill. And that, to me, is, I think, what the biggest gut punch is. It isn't the fact that the Jets lost out on Tyreek Hill. Like, that was painful enough, but the fact that he's going to Miami is the biggest factor, I feel. And of course, Adam Schefter reporting 9 minutes ago, Dolphins are giving Tyreek Hill a 4-year deal for $120 million, $72.2 million guaranteed, which would make him the highest guaranteed receiver in the history of the NFL. And it's kind of funny, too, because this really almost seemingly came out of nowhere, materialized very, very, very quickly, because it just felt like all of a sudden this came out of nowhere that it wasn't going to work with Kansas City. And it's kind of funny, too, because you would feel like, of all the players, like Tyreek Hill was one of those top 3 players that Kansas City would figure out some way to make it work, whether it be a contract, whether it be, appealing to him in some way. But I was just amazed the fact that they couldn't make it work and it moved so quickly. But it is kind of interesting, too, where you look now, what does Kansas City do from here? Because all of a sudden now Kansas City, they still have Travis Kelce, they got Juju Smith-Schuster, they got a lot of good receivers, but Tyreek Hill is someone you have to double every play. And you do wonder, too, now, one of the reports, and I will give Connor Hughes a lot of credit for this, is and a lot of the reporters around the Jets have been saying, like, look, they've been looking at DK Metcalf, and apparently he's off the market. He's not available. I wonder, do the Jets maybe get a little bit creative with the Seahawks? Yeah, you can't get DK, But could you maybe get Tyler Lockett for a third round pick? Because again, he's going to have a huge contract hit. Like, could the Jets maybe be creative in trying to bring in another receiver? And it's funny because like it hurts that he chose Miami over the Jets, and I get where Jet fans are coming from, and that nerve's very raw. But it's not like this move all of a sudden makes you feel like Miami's better than Buffalo. It doesn't make you feel like Miami's a Super Bowl team because you don't know what their quarterback is. But this almost to me reeks of desperation from Miami in a sense because they know they have to make Tua work. They know that Tua has to come out of the season looking great. And they've kind of doubled down because now they've also taken out a lot of draft capital that could have maybe helped them get a quarterback next year to make sure that this works. Because don't forget what has happened in Miami. It's a chaotic offseason. Not only have you heard about the owner potentially paying the former coach to lose football games to get to but they have moved on from a head coach that a lot of people felt was a great head coach. They're bringing in a new offensive coordinator, a coach that I know he's making great rounds in the press, but offensive coordinator, will he be able to make that adjustment? I mean, they've gone offensive coach. They've now gone out and got Tyreek Hill. If Tua does not look good with arguably the most explosive 1-2 punch in the NFL, that there's going to be a lot of questions in Miami, and there's going to be a lot of turmoil because there's going to be a lot of, well, if he can't succeed with this, with Gesicki, with these two great receivers, how's he going to succeed? I get the money part, but why would he go to the Jets unless he wants to never win a championship again? Well, like, do you really think Miami's going to win a championship with Tua? Joe Doug actually pursues valuable players in position of need. All this talk about him being cheap is not. I agree. Like the Jets were in a great position, and I kept saying this. If this was a situation where the Chiefs controlled it, like the Chiefs basically said, like, where do you want to go to Tyreek Hill? If they wanted the best deal, I still feel the Jets would have given that because you know the 10th pick was going to be involved. The Jets had higher draft picks. Let's see. Tua and Teddy have Cam for an arm that can capitalize on his talents. Nolan, this reeks of Le'Veon to the Jets. KD, I completely disagree with that. Don't forget, Le'Veon was out for a season, a running back well past his prime. And it also was, too, like, Adam Gase did not want Le'Veon Bell. Like, it's clear the Dolphins wanted Tyreek. And it will be very interesting to see how Tyreek fits there because – say what you want about Tyreek Hill. Like, he's an unbelievable athlete. He's a different receiver because he's the best yak guy in the NFL. He's the most explosive, but I will be curious to see how they use him because don't forget, Tyreek Hill has always been an explosive receiver. And even with Alex Smith, he was a very good receiver. But when did he really become a dominant force in the NFL? It's when he had Patrick Mahomes. And he also had Andy Reid. He had Travis Kelce. And to be fair, Mike Gesicki is a tight end that you can't sleep on in Miami. But you go from having arguably the most talented quarterback of this generation, arguably the best offensive play caller of this generation, arguably one of the best offenses of this generation, to a new head coach, that's never done this in the NFL before, a quarterback that many even in that building are questioning. And it will be very interesting to see how Hill fits. Like, I don't necessarily, I still think Tyreek Hill is going to be an absolutely unbelievable player, but you have to wonder how it's going to work, how it's going to, if there's going to be growing pains there. Tua not getting the ball on all those deep post LO. I mean, that's the other thing. Like, you had Patrick Mahomes who could throw it, run. One of the biggest things that Tyreek Hill, like one of the biggest advantages he offered too, was he was almost most effective when the play broke down. It was on those plays where Patrick Mahomes would extend the play, roll out. Hill would find a spot in the open field. Mahomes could hit him on the run, throw it 30 yards, get Hill in stride, and Hill would basically be in the middle of the open field with no one around him. That was one of his biggest strengths. So now you get to a quarterback that's not as mobile, doesn't have as strong of an arm. But the other thing, too, is you wonder, this is my other thing with receivers, too, is Katie brings up a good point. Hill's next level will be 29 by the time the Finns bring in another quarterback replace Tua. Teddy might not be the end of your starter. But one of the things I took from it, too, is with Hill, you do wonder. He's a guy that his whole entire game is based on speed because he's not a big vertical guy. He's not even the crispest route runner, but he's about speed. And you do wonder, when does it get to a point when he loses a step or two? Like we've seen it in the NFL where you have absolute burners, and then all of a sudden they just hit that wall and they just lose it a little bit. So I do wonder if that's going to be in play. Hill going in the mid-second round, fantasy book it. Still think the Jets had a good offseason. I do too. Teddy being out, Tua and TC. Tua will be traded by next season. I don't doubt that. That's a big haul for KC, and the Finns have to pay him $30 million per year, and he's a domestic abuser. Good luck. That's the other thing too. Is one of the things about the Jets is they've been looking for higher character guys, and they've also been looking for that. Like they don't want controversial players, but they still were in on Hill. Like you have to give the Jets credit. Like I do think they put together an offer that was comparable, that was going to make Tyreek Hill the biggest paid receiver in the NFL. But it is kind of funny too, because you do wonder, do the Jets now go out there and do they go out and be aggressive in the draft and try to get a receiver? Or does this now change it where they're still going to be looking at a pass rusher, but now to Sauce Gardner, and do they look to potentially bring in another corner to help? Because this is going to be something kind of crazy. But we'll see. Like there's other receivers out there that maybe someone slips through, or maybe there's a receiver that all of a sudden becomes on the market. Because don't forget, 3 hours ago, we didn't know Tyreek Hill was on the market. We just assumed he was going to be in Kansas City. So are there other receivers that could maybe fall through the cracks, that could maybe all of a sudden become available with the contract? Because don't forget too, these guys want to get paid. Is there someone that's up for a new contract? Like DK, I know the Jets have kicked the tires on, but now does all of a sudden does DK Metcalf in Seattle go to the front office and basically say, look, we don't have a good quarterback. I'm the face of your franchise. I want to be the highest paid guaranteed wide receiver for my new contract. I want to beat out Tyreek Hill. I want to beat out Devontae Adams. And maybe Seattle says, no, we're not going to do that. Maybe that opens the door for a DK Metcalf. I said maybe they look at like a Tyler Lockett. I mean, there's a lot of receivers out there and other ways the Jets can improve this team. And let's be honest too, with the Jets, like you want this team to be competing for a playoff spot, but this is a team that is not close to a Super Bowl right now. You're hoping that by the end of the season, they're in a position to be a consistent contender, but you also, this isn't a move. This is the other move about Miami too, is they're not a Super Bowl contender. This isn't a move where they feel like they are desperately trying to make Tua work. It's not just the fact that Tua isn't working there, but they have to double down because this offseason, it's come out. What was the biggest discrepancy between the ownership, the front office, and one of the biggest ones between their former head coach? One of the biggest ones was the head coach wanted to draft Justin Herbert, and he made it clear when he was fired that that's who he wanted. The front office wanted Tua. They desperately wanted Tua. They took Tua. And history has shown us right now that that was a mistake. So they're trying to not only make it work with Tua, but they're trying to do everything to make it work for Tua. And I kind of wonder, is it going to end slightly like Baker Mayfield with the Browns, where the Browns basically moved heaven and earth to put a super team around Baker Mayfield? And even at the end of the day, you still were like, this is a great team, but they're being held back by their quarterback. And you wonder, is that going to be the situation with Tua? Like, for all we know, Tua's had injury issues. He's not been a quarterback that can stay healthy. What happens in week 3 where if Tua goes down for the significant portion of the year, and Teddy Bridgewater actually plays better than him? I mean, you could see that too. Yeah, facts like that they're definitely involved in the trade market. Olave, if we get Sauce, where does that put Reed and Hall in the slot? I mean, they really like Michael Carter in the slot. Yeah, Michael Carter second in the slot. I don't think I keep seeing Sauce at 4. It depends on who's there at 4. If Thibodeau are one of the best pass rushers there. I still think the Jets lean pass rusher. What I kind of, and it's funny because my mock draft seems almost out of date now, but here's how I think the Jets could attack this, which is they get the best pass rusher available at 4. Um, Unless they feel one of those top 3 pass rushers, if they can get Johnson at 10 or something, maybe they do that. But I feel like they go pass rusher at 4, Hope Sauce or maybe even Kyle Hamilton's there at 10. And if they get one of those defensive players, don't be shocked if the Jets are aggressive and trade back into the first round, like the early 20s. Because don't forget, they have picks 35 and 38 or 39 in the second round. They could package that with a fourth and move up back into the first round. So I do think that that is a situation where they could definitely do that. What would you say to Finns fans who think they're contenders this year? Do you think you're better than Buffalo? Because I don't. I don't think that. Look, Miami also. It's going to be interesting too because Miami had what has been Miami's strength the last few years. It's been their defense. They've had a great defense, and now because of this contract, it looks like they're going to have to trade one of their best corners to open up some cap space. But you look now, they bring in a new offensive coach who I do think the offense will be better. But do you really feel like Tua is going to take that next step? Even if Tua's a game manager, Dolphins should win 8 or 9 games. But I mean, say what you want about their former head coach, but he had an unbelievable defense, and that defense won them games, like against Baltimore last year. I mean, to me, that was the biggest thing you worried about. Miami wasn't even their offense, and look, they had great skill players, but you worried about that defense. You worried about those great looks, that cover zero look that they have, and now all of a sudden they go with a whole new head coach, probably a whole new defensive scheme. I don't think they're going to be as good defensively. Yes, their offense got significantly better, but I'm not sure about their defense. They'll run sweep plays and screen past the hill until he's injured. There's no way he'll get utilized the way Mahomes was able to do it. I agree, Dante. Like that was how I let off the show is one of the advantages Tyreek Hill had was he goes from now the best play caller in a generation in Andy Reid, arguably the most talented quarterback in a generation, Patrick Mahomes, having probably one of the 2 physically most gifted tight ends between Gronk and Travis Kelce on the underneath, and to going to now a team where you're not sure about the quarterback. Yes, you have a great running mate in Jalen Waddle, but Miami's offensive line was not great last year. I don't think they significantly got better this year with a first-time head coach. How is that going to work? And it will be interesting too because they're going to run more of the San Francisco style offense, like you said. I mean, Tyreek Hill, one of the things is when he's healthy, he's great. But one of the things we've also noticed too with him is he's had some nagging injuries over the last few years. He has missed time due to injury, and it's understandable when you're that high tune of an athlete and when you're that type of player where you are that explosive. It's like you look last year was unique because he did play through 17 games. I mean, he's been a Pro Bowler every year in the NFL, but 2017 only played in 13 games, 2019, 12 games, 2020, 15 games. So you do wonder if there could be some long-term durability issues. And now the question too is what moves can Miami make to improve? Because this is a huge contract for the next 4 years. That's going to limit how they can do that. I like to, I think he'll be their guy going forward. You have to go pass rush first. I don't like Stingley at all. I doubt you're right. Sauce might not be there, but I do not like Stingley. He is really low. He's low on my board. You've heard about the injury rumors this year as well. I just don't trust it. I would be very wary of his injuries. And look, I just feel like Stingley to me is kind of like Karlaftis. I'm concerned because their best years were their first years, and their production has either gone down or kind of hovered. So they're not exactly progressing. So I'm really not a big fan of him there. Personally, I think Tyreek has dropped from a first round to bomb second round, third fancy pick. I mean, a lot of fancy talk here. Chiefs down mad. They're going to miss Hill for sure, especially in that division. I mean, that division is just becoming crazy and they lose a big piece. I think this shows they want more on the outside. Not necessarily. I wonder if the Jets are motivated enough to keep calling teams out of curiosity. I mean, that's the other thing too. Like I just kind of mentioned, does the wide receiver market all of a sudden, and Connor Hughes did say this 43 seconds ago, just to squash Elijah Moore was not involved in the trade package offered for the Chiefs. I'm seeing if they have officially come out anything like about what they were offering. And I mean, look, Tyreek Hill chose to go to Miami, which no state income tax, fun place, but that mostly that's where he lives, that's where he's from, and that's where he trains in the off season. So, like, it really came down to I don't even think the best team. I think it just came down to okay, he gets to go home and he gets to play near home. So that to me is really what he wanted to do. But we'll have to see. Like we saw this factor with the quarterbacks and the whole Deshaun Watson thing, and I do wonder if it'll impact the receivers. Like now, all of a sudden, when Devontae Adams gets this stupid deal, now you see Tyreek Hill get this deal. Like, does DK Metcalf does he become available? And because he will hold out and tell Seattle, look, I want to be the highest paid receiver in the NFL. I'm the youngest receiver on the face of this franchise. You're either going to pay me what they're paying Tyreek or a little bit more, or I'm walking, or I'm going to hold out. That could be a situation where DK comes available. And it's been reported the Jets have called Seattle about DK, but he's not available, and they're telling teams he's not available. But 3 hours ago, we didn't think Tyreek Hill was available. So, and I do want to do the Jets maybe get crafty. I mean, Tyler Lockett, someone I mentioned too, he's got a huge contract hit coming up with his extension. The Jets have all this space. Is it become something where the Jets can maybe get him for a third round pick? Brandon Cooks is another receiver. I know he's not as exciting for obvious reasons, but it's clear that the Texans are reloading. They're trying to rebuild. And Cooks has been a very solid receiver, 28 years old. I understand it's a bit of a cap hit, but you don't have to give up a ton to get him. Even last year with Davis Mills as his quarterback, 6 touchdown catches, started all 16 games, over 1,000 yards, over 1,000 yards the last 2 seasons in Houston with really subpar quarterback play. That's someone like, could the Jets bring in? And I know it's not a number one. I know it's not Tyreek Hill. I know it's not sexy, but if you could get him for a decent pick and then you could draft another receiver in this draft, like you look at my last mock draft, I had the Jets double dipping at wide receiver. And I do think there are receivers that they like in this draft, but could that be someone that is availably out there? I mean, that could be something to do. Daquan, so who do you like at 10 if the Jets go pass rush at 4? Right now I see a scenario where let's say I'm just going through the teams in my head. So the real question now is the quarterbacks, because that almost helps the Jets. And I was saying in my last episode, which is, does the quarterback actually help the Jets? Because Malik Willis had a great pro day. Atlanta's now moved on from Matt Ryan. Now those are 2 teams at 6 and 8 that could want a quarterback. And I do wonder if they give the Jets a haul at 4 to move back, could that be something? And it'd be interesting too. Like I know the Panthers just made a big deal to get their wide receivers. Maybe they could throw in a receiver in the trade for the Jets. But let's say I'm going to be conservative. One of the quarterbacks goes. The Giants maybe are in play for Sauce. But another thing too is the Jets can maybe trade for one of their corners later in the draft. But Hamilton might be in play at 10 now, because I really don't see Seattle's already spending all that money on safeties. Denver, I mean, no, Seattle took Denver's pick. Atlanta's I don't see Atlanta going safety. I feel like they're going to go quarterback, but I'm not exactly sure. Maybe offensive line or pass rush. 7, the Giants are really going to determine what happens with the Jets, because if the Jets take Sauce, if the Giants don't take Sauce, I could see Sauce being there at 10. If they don't take Kyle Hamilton, I could see him being there at 10. The other thing too is, if Malik Willis is like there at 10, do the Steelers try to come up again? Does a team try to come up and get a quarterback? Like that's also the other impact too. So there's a lot of moving parts, but if no team offers anything for 10, I feel like the Jets are going to evaluate, and I'm kind of against the grain. A lot of people keep saying, oh, the Jets have to take a receiver at 10, but I think a lot of the receivers are going to go in the 15 to 40 range. And because the Jets have those 2 second round picks, my thought is the Jets are going to trade back into the first round to get that receiver, that they're going to find someone that fell a bit that they can grab there. Um, I don't really want DK. He wasn't great all the time with Russ, so I don't trust him with Zach. I like Hamilton, but Jets better keep him around, not like another safety situation. And I kind of wonder too, like, I don't think Hamilton was really on the forefront, but now with all the great receivers in this division, does he entered the equation because, okay, maybe you don't have the great corners, but then you have Whitehead paired with Hamilton on the back end. That could be a fun back end of the combination for the Jets. I also kind of wonder too at 10. I know this would not be a popular pick, but the nose tackle Wyatt from Georgia, if he's sitting there, I mean, 341 pounds, big athletic interior defensive lineman, could that be something where the Jets say, okay, we get an edge rusher, but then we also get a great interior guy to pair next to Quinnen Williams to really have an absolutely incredible pass rush? That could be someone that is Hollywood Brown still on good terms with Baltimore. I feel we can get him for fourth round. I wouldn't want Hollywood. I mean, he's been inconsistent. He's right. And like a lot of the reaction I see here too is like, if you're the Chiefs, how do you not trade Hill? Like, that's to me, I feel like they're going to regret this trade, the Chiefs, because this was a trade where the Jets were going to give up the 10th pick. And at the 10th pick, Kansas City could have done a lot. They could have traded and gotten, oops, sorry, hitting the microphone. They could have traded back and gotten more capital. They could have gotten an edge rusher there. They probably gotten a good corner. They could have maybe even gotten Kyle Hamilton to pair with Justin Reed. I mean, there's a lot the Chiefs could have done with that 10th pick opposed to the 29th pick. So I get teams talking to their players and letting their players decide. But if I'm a Chiefs fan, to be honest with you, I'm kind of pissed right now. Not only that Tyreek Hill's out the door, but I understand you got 5 draft picks for him, but the Jets had better draft picks. Like if the Jets offered a first and a second, like they offered the 10th pick and even the late second round pick, those are attractive picks. Like those are 3 really quality players. Like the Miami picks are so much later in the draft that I just don't know what they're doing. Like if I'm a Chiefs fan, I would be pissed about this. I would be irate that it's like, look, I understand we want Tyreek Hill to be happy, but Tyreek's going to get paid no matter where he goes. And if I'm the Chiefs, I'm trying to get the most I can for a player. So I just really, really am surprised that the Chiefs, to be honest with you, didn't do that. I'm starting to see that on Twitter from Chiefs, like, why didn't we trade him to the Jets? We could have gotten more from the Jets. We could have gotten more picks from the Jets. So I don't get what the Chiefs were doing in that sense. To me, it doesn't make a lot of sense. I still feel Brandon Cooks would be a nice piece. Like I see that I feel like you get Brandon Cooks for a fourth rounder. And look, I know Cooks isn't the sexy pick. I get it. I understand he's not the high end pick, but I'd rather have him for the fourth rounder than Hollywood Brown. Like Hollywood Brown's had the injury issues. He's been inconsistent. He had a better season last year, but you almost feel like he's been a bit of a disappointment at the wide receiver position. I'm just going looking at the NFL, just seeing who the receiving leaders were last year. I'm just trying to go through my head which receivers might be on the market. Obviously, you look last year, Tyreek Hill, 111 catches, 1,200 yards. Maybe I don't know. Keenan Allen, I doubt becomes available. Hunter Renfro is not going to become available. They're not Buccaneers aren't going to move off one of their great receivers. Yeah, Marquis Brown. If the Jets think they can make him work in that system, sure, but I just feel like the Ravens aren't going to trade him because the Ravens don't have great receivers. They have a great tight end. They don't have great receivers. And for everyone saying, oh, Marquise Brown's a better option, Marquis Brown, 91 catches. Brandon Cooks, 90 catches. Marquis Brown, 1,008 yards. Brandon Cooks, 1,037 yards. Both had 6 touchdown catches. So they're basically the same player. I think Cooks has a better track record. And also, Cooks had a worse quarterback last year. I mean, Marquis Brown had someone that's won an MVP paying for him last year. So, and that's the other thing. I just don't see with Lamar Jackson, with how good that freaking division is going to be, I don't see them moving off. Like me, Brandon Cooks could be in play. I really believe like he could be in play if the Jets offered, because to me, I feel like the Texans are just going full rebuild right now. Um, so that he's someone I would definitely keep an eye on. But Tyler Lockett, I keep bringing it up. I just feel like the reason that Seattle might be moving him off is because they gave him that huge extension. The Jets have the room. And look, 73 catches, 1,175 yards, 8 touchdowns last year. I would look into him just because the contract, and you probably can get him for less. Like, I feel like you can get Brandon Cooks or Tyler Lockett for either the 3rd round pick or probably more likely a 4th and extra. So I know they're not the sexy moves. I know they're not Tyreek Hill, but they're good options, and you don't give up your premium draft capital. Yes, you're right, dude. Georgia 10. I would be happy that Hollywood is nice, but I think to get him, you'd have to give up more than a 4th. Yeah, I feel like Hollywood, you probably have to give up minimum of 3, 5, and something. And I just don't see Baltimore letting him go. I just don't see that happening. I just do not see the Ravens trading someone when they still have a young quarterback who they believe is going to be elite. And you just look at it and you're going, okay, like we need to figure this out. And look, the Jets, it's been a tough off season in terms of the receiver market, but a lot of it's out of their control. Let's be honest, like the big target that they really wanted this offseason was Calvin Ridley. They were going to go hard after Calvin Ridley, but he got suspended for the entire year. So that was just unfortunate luck for the Jets. Amari Cooper was another person they looked into, but they wanted to rework the contract. And basically, the reason the Browns got him for only the 5th was because they took on that entire contract. And I know a lot of Jet fans are saying, well, why can't we take on that contract? But it would have been hard for the Jets to make some moves. And also, with Amari Cooper, you're kind of looking at him. You feel like his performance has been declining a little bit. And then you look at the 2 other big swings they were looking at. Chandler Jones chose Las Vegas. Better city in terms of maybe living quality, warmer city, closer to where he currently is and where he's from, and also a team that's going to compete this year. And then you look at Tyreek Hill, you look at Miami, it's basically the same thing as the Jets, but the reason Miami was more attractive wasn't because of the quarterback. It wasn't because of the money, because both teams are going to get the money. It was because he's from that area. He's from Florida. He trains in Florida. He lives in Florida. Like everyone keeps saying it's the state income tax. I don't really think it's that. I just think it's he wanted to go home. And I do think that that was a situation where they looked at and said, okay, I just want to go home. Like I like the Jets, but it's where he's from. So like, I'm just surprised that again, like Kansas City, like I know that they were trying to do right by Tyreek Hill, but I feel like they're going to look back on this trade and go, man, we could have gotten a lot better picks from the Jets and a lot more from the Jets. But tell me, guys, how you feeling? Like, I know there's a lot of disappointment from Jets fans. Like, I know the players are disappointed that Tyreek didn't come here, but I mean, you can't. I mean, this is the thing too. Like, a lot of people are going, "Oh, you gotta blame." You gotta blame Joe Douglas. I don't. Like, I give Joe Douglas a lot of credit for being in on this, and it was basically a situation where Joe Douglas was basically in a losing situation when the team, the Chiefs, basically said Tyreek could pick where he wanted to go. Because I really believe if the Chiefs said, "Look, we're trading you, but we're going to decide where you go," then he would have been a Jet. Because the Jets, to me, would have had the better package, the better draft picks for him. But when it came down to it, they basically let him decide, and he went to where he's from. He went home. He went back to the state where he's from. And you can't really blame Joe Douglas because it wasn't like the Jets didn't offer something. They probably, in retrospect, offered the better pick. And I do wonder if Jameson Williams is now a target for the Chiefs late in the first round. So the other thing too is I'm a little surprised that the Chiefs didn't get one of the first round picks. They have the 2 first round picks in 2023, the Dolphins, that they weren't able to do that. And we'll see how Tua does. Like, this is really going to be interesting. Like, if you are the Dolphins and Tua doesn't work with this, he doesn't work with Chase Edmonds, Mostert, Hill, Waddle, Gesicki, and look, even Cedric Wilson as your third option. And they went out and they spent on the offensive line with Terron Armstead and Connor Williams. I mean, they're going to be a lot better team. But it's funny because Miami, you could make the case, is one of, if not one of the top 2 most improved teams in the entire NFL this free agency period. But you still feel at their very, very best that they're a second place team in this division. And at their very, very best, maybe they're a 10-win team, maybe a 9-win team. And that's because of the quarterback. And if Tua comes out this year, like if Miami goes out this year, and even if Miami makes the playoffs, but they get smoked in the first round of the playoffs, Tua doesn't play well, there's going to be a lot of questions. And now Miami's kind of put themselves in a tough position because it's funny because if this was a second-year quarterback like a Justin Herbert, like let's say, where they saw the talent and you put this team around him, you could say, okay, this could be a team that could win a Super Bowl. The opposite is now the case where you look at the talent they've put around Tua, and our reaction is like, well, maybe Tua could work. Maybe Tua will be good. Maybe Tua. Like, there's a lot of questions, and they're kind of doubling down on it. So, look, Adam Schefter 1 minute ago, Jets trade offer the Chiefs for Tyreek Hill that Kansas City would have accepted if the receiver opted for New York. Did not include a first-round pick, but rather multiple picks that were commensurate to the Dolphins' offer based on the trade value chart per teams per source. See, that's something too where I don't know how you feel about that, Jet fans. Like, my reaction to that is, I know how Jet fans are going to look at that tweet, but this is my reaction is, I guess it's even more heartbreaking because the Chiefs would have accepted a deal where the Jets got to keep both their first round picks, which would have been absolutely huge. Like, my thought would have been, since it's 5 picks, maybe it was both seconds, like a late pick this year and then like a third and a 5 the following year. And even still, like those two second round picks are in the top 40. So they were higher than Miami's, which, and I know what the first reaction from Jet fans is going to be, which is going to be like, that's why we didn't get him. We didn't offer the 10. We didn't give up the 10th overall pick. But don't forget, that didn't matter. The Chiefs would have accepted the deal. The Chiefs were fine with the trade package. They would have accepted it. They basically, again, it came down to Tyreek Hill. If this was a situation where the Chiefs made this trade, they were the ones making this trade, and it came out that the Jets didn't offer a first-round pick, then you could get on Joe Douglas. But when you hear that the Chiefs would have accepted that package, but it came down to Tyreek Hill, like, this is how I interpret it. If the Chiefs were in charge, like the Chiefs didn't care about Tyreek Hill, like the Chiefs basically said, we're going to make the best move for our organization and get the most back, he would be a Jet. But because they gave it up to Tyreek Hill, and because the packages were similar-ish, they both basically offered what the Chiefs wanted. It just came down to like, okay, where do you want to play? And Tyreek chose Florida. So that to me is a bit disheartening. Yeah, if the Jets made the decision, that's what I keep saying. Like, if the Chiefs had the decision, he would be a Jet. Like, I really believe that he would be a New York Jet today. So that to me is something is kind of incredible. And plus, too, like that makes you wonder where the Jets offer didn't include a first round pick. So Miami's still giving up a first round pick for him. And I just feel it's going to be both twos. I have a feeling it's going to be both twos this year, or a two and a two this year, or two next year, a mid round pick and two late picks. So it, and I keep seeing all these comments. Oh, it's about the cost of living. It's about where he lives. Like I really don't think it came down to it. Like, here's the way I look at it. If he went to New York, all the advertising deals he would get would well offset the taxes. To me, it didn't come down to the quarterback. It didn't come down to who was the best team for Tyreek Hill. It simply came down to where is his home? It's Florida. Where did he grow up? He grew up in Florida. Where does he live in the offseason? He lives in Florida. Where does he train in the offseason? It's Florida. Like, that is the reason. He basically just went home. That is what it came down to. It was like, you can go to New York or you can go home. He decided to go home. It wasn't the taxes. Like, stop saying, oh, it's the cost of living that prevented Tyreek Hill from going to New York. Oh, it was the taxes. It wasn't that. He wanted to go home. That's why he's going to Miami. He didn't choose Miami because of the better quarterback or the better situation. Basically, he was going to get paid no matter where he went. And he made like, I feel comfortable going home. And for most of us, like think about it. If you had an opportunity, like if you love where you grew up and you like where you like your hometown, or you love the area where you grew up, and even if you didn't love it, it always will hold a special place in your heart. If someone said, like, look, you can move to a completely new place where you've never been before, or you can move back home and you're going to get paid the same amount of money, you're probably going to be like, I'll go home because at least I'm comfortable there. But apparently wasn't giving them first round. Chiefs still wanted to trade with us. LOL. Well, sorry, I was 3 minutes behind my stream. My fault. No worries. He probably also wants Loki to avoid the I don't think Dante hits that. I don't think he wants to avoid the liberal stuff in New York. I just think he just wanted to go home. Like, that to me. Here's the official trade that the Jets would have had in place. They would have gotten a lot this year, 35, 38, and 69. And the Jets would have gotten Hill and the 103rd pick. So the Jets basically would have given up both second-round picks this year, their third-round pick, and the Jets would have gone up the 103rd, which I believe is a fourth or a fifth back. And you know what my thought process is? Look, I have to give Douglas credit. They were being aggressive. They went in there, and everyone's saying it's the same old Jets. Like, look, they were aggressive. It just came down to the players. And here's the interesting thing. Now that this has come out, I do wonder if fans in Kansas City, I want to see what the reaction in Kansas City is. Like, are people going to be pissed? Because I know they got the first round Dolphins pick. And you can tell me what you guys think of the chat, but I might be biased. But my thought process is the Jets offer was a lot better than the Dolphins offer. Because the Chiefs, yes, they didn't get a first round pick, but they got 2 high seconds, which they could have made, then probably turned a first and a third. Like, and where the Chiefs are with their salary cap, that's a good range for them. And with this draft, like, the Kansas City could have probably gotten 2 pieces for their defense and a good receiver with those picks. I mean, I know Miami's the 29th pick, but the rest of the picks are well down the board compared to what the Jets offered. And a lot of the picks are late picks next year. Like, the Chiefs would have had 3 high-end picks, like 3 top 70 picks that they could have used in this year's draft to get probably a receiver to replace Hill, or at least fill that spot, and then go out and get maybe an offensive lineman or get 2 defensive pieces. So I'm interested to see how the Chiefs feel, because you look at that, like, if I'm a Chiefs fan, like, I would be like, my opinion would be, I'd be pissed. I would have been really pissed. And I know it hurts because now the Jets now have to cover Tyreek Hill twice a year. But you look at that deal, like, if Kansas City's in charge, which, again, like, I get that you want players to choose where they're going and be happy. But if he was going to get paid by both teams, like, the Chiefs, it just feels like they missed out on a better package. Now, people could disagree with me, but I think the Jets package, from what they were willing to send, was the better package for Tyreek. And I get it. And I know in some regards it hurts more because the Jets had the better package. The Jets were the better situation probably for the Chiefs, and they didn't pull the deal off. And I understand that that sucks as a fan base and it hurts. But you also have to look at too, like Joe Douglas was all in. He gave them the best offer. The Jets, if the Chiefs were in charge of choosing where he was going, he would be a Jet. And that I think pisses people off the most is that if the Chiefs, and look, I get letting players go where they want to go, and that's fine. But if you're the owner or the GM of that team, you have to do what's best for your franchise. And it's going to be kind of hard to sell to your coach, to your franchise quarterback, to your fan base when your division now has gotten the best receiver in football. The Raiders have had great pass rushers. The Broncos now have a Hall of Fame caliber quarterback in Russell Wilson. You look at everything that division has done, and you trade arguably the most dynamic piece of your team, and then it comes out and people find out, oh, by the way, you probably could have gotten more picks and better picks for this player if you had decided where the trade was going and not let Tyreek Hill choose. I do think that that has to be something that if you're a Chiefs fan, like not only are you pissed that they traded Tyreek Hill, but you look like the Chiefs accepted this trade. Like they accepted it, and it basically came down to uh where you wanted to go. And it would have been an unbelievable trade for the Jets if they were able to pull off and keep both their first round picks. I do think that that would be the thing out there, but uh it's just frustrating too, where you just look at like the Jets could have gotten this done, but it just didn't work out that way. And it feels like Kansas City just kind of screwed everything up, which really kind of pisses you off a little bit. But I mean, Joe Douglas would have had another great trade. They would have had an unbelievable receiver if this deal went through, like this alternate reality where this deal went through. But can people stop saying it's the state income tax? Like I keep seeing this on Twitter. Like I'm just scrolling through Twitter now. Like everyone's like, "Oh, it's the state income tax. It's the state income tax." It's not the state income tax. He just wanted to go and play at home. That is why he's going to Miami. It's not that they had a better quarterback, a better team, a better coach. He's from Florida. He grew up in Florida. He lives in Florida in the offseason. He trains in Florida in the offseason. He just wanted to go home. Like that to me is the biggest thing. And for everyone saying like, oh, the state income tax, like NFL players have to pay a state income tax in every state they play. I don't know if you knew that, but they have to pay an income tax in every state that they play every year. And basically, I understand like he lived in New Jersey, but he could have easily just said his residence is Florida. I mean, people do that all the time. They say they reside in Florida for the majority of the year, which he still would do. And he could still probably avoid the income tax. He still have to pay some tax in New Jersey, but not the full taxes. So there's ways around it. So for everyone saying, oh, he's not there for the taxes, it's the taxes. He just wanted to go home. I mean, that just, uh, you know, but so I guess one of the parts in the deal too, and that's coming out is that Hill was the contract extension. And I guess what's coming out now, according to Connor Hughes, is he wasn't going to resign with the Jets. He basically would have been a 1-year rental. And even still, the Jets basically were still going to pay that high premium for a rental. So it just shows you how aggressive they were going to be and hope that they could get him in the building and at least re-sign him. Think about that. Like that to me has to be frustrating if you're the ownership of the Jets, where you offered more for a rental, but basically they were going to offer more for a rental. Like think about that. They were going to offer more for 1 year of Tyreek Hill than the Dolphins did. Like that that has to be infuriating. That also has to piss you off. Like, because again, this, if the Chiefs were in charge, I think he'd be a Jet. But I mean, I don't think it still comes down to the income taxes. It still comes down to, look, he wants to play in Florida. He grew up in Florida. I know I keep sounding like a broken record, um, but you look at what they were offering. It was a good trade. It has to be infuriating that you look at what the Jets offered the better deal. And let's be honest, like if you're Miami, like I get that this was a great deal for Miami, but they still gave up a ton of picks, and they also now have basically had to pay an incredible contract for this receiver. And that's not to say the Jets weren't. The Jets said that they would make him the highest paid receiver, but he wanted the 1 year. Uh you look like he wants to be in Florida, and he got the contract. So the one not good thing is, yes, Tyreek's going to be, it's going to be a challenge to take him on. But the nice thing, I guess, too, is that he's going to eat up a major part of that salary cap going forward. Um, I don't know, Nolan. I really think the Jets aren't that appealing. Like, what's more appealing about Miami? I know the location is appealing, but the Dolphins, like, I mean, we're talking like, here's the other thing too. The Dolphins owner might have to sell the team if this investigation about him paying his potential coach about tanking is going on. So I just don't see how it's that much more of a better location. It it's just it's just another frustrating J as a Jet fan, but I give Joe Douglas credit for going out there, being aggressive, even for a rental. And I'm really curious to see what the Jets do from here. And I'd like to hear what you guys have to say. I have a feeling that they're going to be aggressive, that whether it's in the draft, whether it's in the trade market, that I don't think the Jets are done. And just because Tyreek's off the board, that doesn't mean another great receiver could come up, because 24 hours ago, not even 24, like not even 5 hours ago, most of us didn't feel that uh that most of us feel that basically that Tyreek Hill was going to be a Chief. And now all of a sudden this came out this morning, and basically the sweepstakes went off. So like my question is there another receiver now? Like I said, if there's a receiver that comes out and wants a new contract, could the Jets maybe swoop in to get him? I mean, that's something to keep an eye on. Uh I guess too, like Albert Breer reporting that he did have a no trade clause. Um so let's see. But I do wonder too, like, are the Dolphins, like, let's be honest, are the Dolphins in a little bit better situation this year with their team? Yes. But long term, I'm not sure how good that team's gonna be. I mean, like I said, like a couple minutes ago, this team is basically all in. Uh Dante Spar, before you leave, give us your thoughts on what Keys to say might have to say about this. Braden White, uh, I just heard we offered 35, 38, and 69. Is that true? Yes. Adam Schefter reported that. I have no idea what their thoughts are going to be about that. I really don't. I have zero idea. Like, because again, like I talk mostly about the Jets, and this doesn't impact the Giants. It'll be the only impact I think the Giants have on the Jets is where the Giants do with the fifth and seventh pick. I know the Giants are going to take an offensive lineman, but then the question is, like, if they take Sauce Gardner, does that impact what the Jets do? Kyle Hamilton, like, it basically impacts who's going to be left on the board there. Um, the amount the Dolphins gave up was crazy, but the crazier part was the Jets. You look at the points, the draft picks, they were going to give up more, even though they weren't giving up a first round pick. And basically, Tyreek Hill wasn't going to agree to an extension. And I kind of laughed too, because I understand that the Jets, like if you put them side by side, the Dolphins look like a better team, but it's not like the Dolphins look like a world beer. And I still feel like the Jets have a better long-term plan and a better long-term future than the Dolphins, because like I said, like you look at the moves that they have made and put the pieces around, like you would have felt Tua was Justin Herbert. Like if this was like the Chargers doing this, because we've seen what Justin Herbert can do. They missed the playoffs last year. You put this team around, you're like, okay, this roster could potentially win a Super Bowl. They put all these pieces around Tua, and your thought process is maybe Tua can make the playoffs. So you're going to spend the most money on a wide receiver in NFL history, and also trade all those picks. And you're basically like, oh, I hope we can make the playoffs. But it's funny because I do think a lot of Jet fans, like, their first reaction is like, oh, if we offered the first round picks, we could have gotten them. That's not the case. The Chiefs accepted the trade. It still comes down to where he wanted to go. He wanted to go to Miami. And I still believe that if it came down to, like, not the state income tax, he wanted to go home and go back to where he's from and play down there. And that's basically it. And it's a gut punch for Jet fans. I know it sucks, but that's just the way it unfortunately rolled out for the Jets. They did everything they could. I don't think they're out of the market. I still think they're going to be aggressive. I'm interested to see where they go from here and what they decide to do. But this is an OR. Dante Tua equals crap. Yeah, I agree. The Mountains Dolphins gave it crazy. The mental gymnastics Finns fans are going to do to convince us they were Tyreek Hill away from contending is going to be nauseating this season. I agree. Like I keep saying this, like, even at their best, Miami, I feel, is a 9-10 win team. Miami's got all the distractions. I mean, we're forgetting the NFL is going to investigate their own about paying their former head coach, about tanking. They fired a head coach that had been Belichick for the last 6 years. And yes, like, this is all on Tua. Like, they fired a great defensive coach. I don't think their defense is going to be as good without him. To now go with a new first-time head coach, new offense, and we'll see how Tyreek. I'm not saying Tyreek Hill is going to be a Pro Bowler. Tyreek Hill is going to be a dynamic player, no question. But is he going to be the same? Because he's leaving the generational talent of Patrick Mahomes. He's leaving the generational play calling of Andy Reid. And you look, Kansas City was loaded. I mean, you can't tell me having Travis Kelce over the middle doesn't help him on the outside. Do you know what the 2023 picks are conditional? The conditional picks aren't done until free agency, basically. But right now, you mean for the Jets? I know they don't. I know they have the extra 6 for Cashman. That deal. Justin Herbert, future go. I mean, the talent is there, and you do, like, that's the thing. Like, if I'm Kansas City, like, I would be pissed. Like, when you see the Jets offer versus the you look at that offer compared to what they got from the Dolphins, and I know the Dolphins got a first round pick, but still, you look, the Jets would have had a better picks for the Chiefs, and I would be mad too. I would be mad at Kansas City today because not only did they not make it work with Tyreek Hill, but look, like, Hill had a no trade clause. There's nothing the Jets really could have done, and it's heartbreaking because, like, you knew they were a finalist, you knew they offered the better pick, but it just came down to where Tyreek wanted to play. And for as good as Miami has for talent, I mean, you still don't know. You still don't know what's going to happen with the Dolphins. We could be here at the end of next year going, wow, Miami has all these great picks. Oh, let me check that for the picks for you, for the Dolphins. Sorry. Like, I wasn't sure if you're talking about the Jets. Just give me a sec. Schefter made it official. I'm just going to his Twitter really quick just to make sure I got it. And I got to scroll down a little bit. There's the contract, $72 million fully guaranteed, 102 overall, 120 overall. Sorry. Let's see. So the picks are 2022, the 29th overall pick, the second round pick, the 50th pick. So they give their first and second round picks this year, and a fourth. Next year's a fourth and a sixth. So yes, the Dolphins gave up a haul on 5 picks, but even still, the Jets, their 2 and the 3 were higher points this year. And they were picks that they could have used this year, and they were basically 3 picks in the top 70. So if you're Kansas City, that's 3 starters, probably 2 defensive stars and a receiver to replace them. So I keep saying this: if Kansas City got to pull it off, that he would be a Jet. But with that no trade clause, and even like this also has to be encouraged for you as a Jet fan. I know it hurts, but Joe Douglas was still going to pull off this deal even on a 1 year contract. Like basically, he wasn't going to agree to an extension with the Jets. So I have to give the Jets credit for at least being that aggressive. So I have to at least give them credit. And Joe Douglas is showing something we had a question about. Would he be aggressive on the wide receiver market? And he has been. Now the question is, how do the Jets adjust? Like, does this mean they take Sauce Gardner in the draft? Do they be a little bit more aggressive getting a wide receiver on the free agent market or the trade market? I've mentioned Tyler Lockett. I mentioned Brandon Cooks. Hollywood Brown was brought up in this chat. I don't think that's going to happen because of his relationship with Jackson and how good that division is. But it is interesting to see how the Jets could attack it. And now all of a sudden, I do wonder as well, do the Jets maybe become a little bit aggressive in another direction? I mean, I know they lost out on JC Jackson. I'm trying to remember. Um just checking really quickly something. Just want to make sure. I don't think Stephon Gilmore has signed yet, correct? I might be wrong. I don't think he signed yet. I'm just double checking. Right, like Stephon Gilmore hasn't signed it. Now do the Jets all of a sudden become aggressive and say, "Okay, we lost out on this deal. We're going to have to go receiver in the draft. Maybe we go and give Stephon Gilmore a big contract to play corner." I mean, that might not be out of the realm of possibility. I also wonder too, do the Jets look at the trade market too and go after for the Giants, James Bradbury? That's a guy they really liked. The Giants have been rumored to trade him. Like if the Giants could trade, if the Jets game for like a 4 and a 6 or a 4 and a future 5, I would be into that. Does Baker go to Pittsburgh? I don't see it going. I just don't see how that fan base is going to accept him being a Brown. They've seen him firsthand. Baker to me is going to be, if he's going anywhere, it's the Seahawks. I don't see how the Panthers are going to make it work with that contract. Beasley or Landry. I'm loving the aggression. I really like them. Take a look at DK now. Like, and that's the thing. Like, IRL. It was reported the Jets have reached out to Seattle about DK. DK has said he's unavailable, but now I do wonder because in the last week we have seen a domino effect. We have now seen Devontae Adams get the most guaranteed money. Now we've seen Tyreek Hill get the most guaranteed money. What's not to say that DK goes to Seattle and says, "Look, I'm going to hold out for a new contract. I'm 24. I had 12 touchdown catches this year. I'm one of the best young receivers in this game. I'm under 25 years old. I want to get the highest paid guaranteed contract. And if you don't pay me, I'm going to hold out. And I'm the face of your franchise." If that comes up, maybe then the Jets could swoop in and get DK. Like that could be a situation. Like, is there a receiver that's kind of on the board? I'm a little surprised Cole Beasley's still out there. I really thought the Giants were going to sign him. I'm wondering if the Jets might kick the tires on him. I doubt it. I know it's not the sexy move, but maybe just to get another receiver in here. But I am kind of curious to see what the Jets do now. And there's going to be a lot of pressure on Joe Douglas. Like they have to hit on this draft. Like there's absolutely no question. Like the Jets have put themselves in a corner, but they have to draft really well. It's going to be interesting to know that they now value the corners a little bit higher because of who they're playing in Miami twice a year. But look, for Jet fans, you can feel upset about today. You can be angry about today. But look, at the end of the day, you have to give the Jets credit. They offered the Chiefs more than the Dolphins. They were going to pay Hill the same exact contract. You know, it's not true. And for every rumor you're hearing that, oh, the Jets weren't going to do this. Like, no, like the Chiefs accepted that trade. They were going to get more. Hill was going to be more. He simply just picked Miami over the Jets. And the big reason to me isn't because of the state income tax. Everyone keeps saying that. Like, I think that's bogus. It just comes down to he's from Florida and he just wanted to go play at home. I really believe that. Maybe he felt that he was in a better situation. And maybe the other thing too is he thought that between the two, Miami's closer to competing. And in a sense, they are. Do they have a better roster than the Jets right now on the offense? Yeah, they have better wide receivers. I don't think it's that big of a gap beforehand. Like now, it's a little bit bigger with Tyreek Hill, but I don't think like the Dolphins are that significantly better roster wise than the Jets. But it is funny because, like, yes, Miami's throwing all this crazy money this offseason, but it all comes down to one player, and that's Tua. And it's not only can Tua be a good quarterback, but can Tua stay healthy for the entire season? Because if even if Miami gets to the end of the year and wins 9 or 10 games, it could be like Baker Mayfield with the Browns, which is we have the super team, but we don't have a quarterback. It's good to get to the playoffs, but he's not a good. We just need Mims to step up. I mean, that would be a revelation if Denzel Mims could all of a sudden just come out of nowhere and just pull it off. But man, like, look, Jet fans, I know it's a tough day, but and I know you're probably sick and tired of me saying this and people in the media saying this, but like real talk here. Like, I understand that this is a gut punch, but I do take this as a good sign that look, you have a general manager that's being creative, that's being aggressive, that's basically trying to improve this team. And it just came down to an unfortunate situation where basically a player chose to go home over going to the Jets. And at the end of the day, it's a gut punch. It makes it worse that it's the Dolphins. Like I kept saying, if it's any other team outside the AFC East, I could care less. But because it's the Dolphins, it does sting more. But I don't think the Dolphins, they're a better team today, but they are not a team that all of a sudden I'm like, wow, they're a threat in this AFC. Like, even with Tyreek Hill, it's about the quarterback. Do I think the Dolphins are better than any team in the AFC West? Absolutely not. Do I think they're better than any team in the AFC North? Absolutely not. Do I think they're better than Buffalo? No. Do I think that they're better than New England? Maybe on paper, but they still have a lot of noise about their owner with the whole situation in the investigation, with their quarterback, which even half the locker room has basically said that they don't believe in him already. And then you also now throw on top of that a team that has spent all this money to be a great team and to make the playoffs this year. If they get hosed in the first round and they come out of the season, you're like, okay, what do they do at quarterback? And I understand they kept their 2 first-round picks next year, but they give up a lot of draft capital in order to pull off this deal. And trade Mims to KC. I wouldn't be opposed to it. I mean, they're willing to talk to Joe Douglas, so who knows? Maybe that could be. But man, that was a good one, man. That made me laugh. That was really good. Wow. But yeah, and again, like, for people saying, "Oh, they didn't give up more picks," guess what? The Chiefs accepted the trade. It just came down to Tyreek Hill, and this also is encouraging too to me. It's like, look, the Jets are going to make that trade even without an extension. Like, that was a lot even for without extension. So, Tua learning a new system too. Yeah, like, new system, new offensive coach, and like, I know the Miami coaches won the press conferences, but you've Campbell won the press conferences, and I don't think he's that good of a coach in Detroit, if I'm honest. Like, I really just don't think he's that great of a coach. And look, like, Tua's got to learn a new system. It's a new offense. Like, and here's the other thing: Miami, what was their bread and butter the last 3 or 4 years, which made them a really good team, which made them a threat to the Patriots, which gave the Patriots fits, which gave the Jets fits. It was their defense. They're likely going to have to trade one of their great corners because of this move, and they lost probably one of the top 3 or 4 defensive coaches in the NFL. Their defense is not going to be as good, and it's a new defensive scheme. So, yeah, their offense is great. Yeah, it's going to be fun and Madden, but I'm not sure how Miami's defense is going to be. Like, and I get that, but it also tells me too, they are trying, like I said to start the show, they're trying to make it work. Like, it's kind of like with Cleveland with Baker Mayfield. Like, they kind of knew it wasn't the right decision, but they're trying to justify the decision. I mean, Miami fired a head coach that won 9 games last season that got them to the playoffs and had 2 winning records back to back because of Tua. They are basically trying to justify, like, hey, we were right. Our head coach wanted Justin Herbert, and Justin Herbert might be like one of the top 5 quarterbacks even in his second year in the NFL. But guess what, guys? This Tua kid, who we were gonna pay him, like, our head coach allegedly $100,000 of these games for. He's great. Like, he can't stay healthy. Can't really throw the ball more than 15 yards down the field, but we're going to make it work. Like, that's the other thing too. Like, I said this at the beginning. Tyreek Hill's best asset was that Mahomes could get the ball down the field to him on the out routes. But even in the middle of the field, it was when the plays broke down that Mahomes could extend. I mean, Tua can't really do either of that. He's not a great play extender. Like, their big thing for these two receivers with Waddle and Hill is like they're going to be getting the ball out quick. Like, they're going to be like, okay, quick slant out. Like, they're doing like the 5 yards and hoping for the yak. And with both those players, yeah, that works well. But don't expect like all of a sudden Tua to be dropping 40-yard bombs over the top. So I hated Mim's pick when that happened. Yeah, they should have picked Claypool, and I've always gone back to the IRL. I said, look, it was a red flag to me when his college head coach in Carolina basically didn't want Denzel Mims. I'm like, that's a red flag. But yeah, guys, thanks for joining us. We'll be back with more Jets content. Make sure you subscribe for more. If you haven't checked it out, our latest mock draft, which almost seems slightly new at this point with everything going on, but the Jets at least still have all those picks. I had them double dipping at wide receiver. What two wide receivers did I have them get? Go check it out. That's on the channel. Make sure you comment about that. Lots of great feedback on that mock draft. So it's always appreciated. We're going to have a new one coming out very soon. Yeah, over 2,000 views. Really happy with it, guys. We're going to have more 7-round mock drafts. Let me know what you think. Make sure to comment on it. Let me know what picks you like, what picks you didn't like, including the 5th-round pick that was a little bit unconventional, but I do think it'd be a great fit for the Jets. So make sure you check that out. And basically, yeah, Horvath. There we go, Braden. Tough day for the Jets, but look, they couldn't have done anything else overall, and you do have to take a look. Joe Douglas is being aggressive, and I do like to see that from the general manager. But until next time, this is Nolan Rich, and this is Rich Sports Talk. Thank you so much for joining us here today.